All right, let's get this thing started. I'd like to introduce, first off, from the East Coast Horror Group, my man, Mr. Michael Exler. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing? Well, it's the final day, Days of the Dead, and saved one of the panels I've been looking forward to for a while, the They Live panel. So first, we're going to introduce Mr. Keith David. Next up, we have the lovely Meg Foster. Finally, we have Mr. Roddy Piper.
You guys just like
what's that?
Slept yet?
Oh, yeah, how come you guys, wow. Did any of you guys go to the party last night?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah? Well, you're awake.
So I wanted to start off with, there's a lot of, themes of the film, social themes. There's kind of a parallel to today. What do you guys think of that?
I think it's more of a parallel today than it was when it came out. I mean, it's a funny thing. When it came out, it was #1 in the country for 2 weeks. It was the #1 film for 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, you couldn't find it anywhere. And that was before, it was right before DVDs and, or whatever the predecessor is, VCRs, whatever, came out. So it was kind of weird that here we are, the #1 movie in the country, and then nothing. Well, and I talked to, I ran into Sandy at the farmer's market. Sandy,
Must have been a treat.
Sandy was one of the producers, and she said, "Well, we must have pissed somebody off." And if you think about the themes of subliminal messages, money being the ruling factor, people worshiping money in that way, and things, and you look at life today and how materialistic the world has become. It was kind of prophetic in that way.
What do you think, Roddy?
Somebody's calling you, Roddy.
I love it. Do you play the trumpet? Can you play the trumpet? No? Hi, I'm Rod, alcoholic and drug addict. Oh, wrong meeting. I think that, first Keith, I agree with Keith that we made somebody mad, because it was all about Reaganomics. But it's interesting, I went on a man's show called Alex Jones, and I wasn't familiar with Alex, but he's a big conspiracy guy. And do you know Alex, you guys? No? Yeah, I guess he chases the Illuminati and allegedly. And I went on his show, and there's another man named David Icke who has nothing to do with show business. He's a scientist, and they use They Live as a template, just for like Cliff Notes, simply to tell you what's going on with yourselves and with us, and what society's doing in the New World Order and all this great stuff. And I think that the fans themselves have kept the movie contemporary, because you realize what the government's doing. I just don't know which side's right. I don't know if the government's right in trying to make a new world order, because there are aliens. We know this now. It's kind of interesting. If you look up on the internet, because everything's real there. There's the Minister of Defense of Canada he's in the cabinet, and as he's giving his retirement speech, he says there's 4 different kinds of aliens here. So whatever you want to believe about that, the movie, I think, just by, shot of the dice, I think it's coming true. I don't think it's a movie. I think it's a documentary. You just didn't know it.
So, Roddy, it said Carpenter saw your performance at WrestleMania 3 and wanted to cast you. How did that all come about?
WrestleMania 3 was in the Pontiac Silverdome, and there was 93,000 people approximately. And I didn't know who John Carpenter was because I was in the wrestling world, and that's a different world. And Cyndi Lauper's manager, Dave Wolf, wanted me to have dinner with him. And I was kind of busy with 93,000 people trying to stab my butt. So, and Adrian Adonis and Jimmy Mouth of the South Heart was a match I had. It was a very cool time. And John, that night, took me for dinner, and I didn't know. It was like, pass the biscuits, He bought some Cristal champagne, I put orange juice in it. You want to start my next movie? Sure, or there's more rolls over there. And that was it, but he had told me about Meg and Keith. Because John, very smart. These people are real deal actors. I'm not. And he balanced it such that every time we see each other, we smile and just very warm. There's never been a sorry word between us. So the casting was perfect, and these fine actor and actresses were the ones that carried me. My job was to fight. And so without the 3, I don't think the movie would have done so well.
So Meg, how were you approached to do They Live?
I was given the script, and I went to meet John at his home, and Mr. Piper was there. And when I read the script, it scared me because it was so true. I mean, I feel that it's always been, and as Roddy said, I never thought of it as a documentary, but you're absolutely right. But I mean, throughout history, it's always been, So anyway, I met Mr. Piper. We spoke about children. And daughters. Yes. Daughter number 2 had just arrived and was a different being than daughter number 1. But and then he just said, would you like to participate? It was just so, working with John is just so simple and easy, it flows. You walk into where you're changing your clothes, and there's some flowers, and it says, and there's a little message, and it says, when it stops being fun, we stop doing it.
There's rat poison in my trailer.
Yeah. But he did cast the film extraordinarily because of these 2 gentlemen. To me, they represent. I'm sorry. They represent anybody who stands up for anything that's unjust. First responders. All of us have that opportunity. And in this situation, of course, that's why the fight is so absolutely extraordinary, because, I mean, you meet Roddy, he has on a wedding ring, and he's just this man walking around looking for a job. I don't know if any of you were about in the 1980s, in the early 80s, but it was a desperate time. It was a desperate time. People were being let out of hospitals, there was no work, there was diseases everybody was turning their head away from. And then there you have Keith, who has 2 children in Michigan, and came all the way to LA to get I mean, it is life, it is real, real life. And the fight, to me, was epic. Not only was it epic because of these 2 that really clobbered each other, but to me, the fight had, just to use one other name, Sam Peckinpah in it. And only because Mr. Peckinpah had men fight that were friends. They had to fight before they could go and do what they had to do. And I'm a mom, I got a brother, I got some sons and grandsons. But I mean, it was when it came out, it was, I mean, when I saw the fight, it was, this is what guys do and I fucking love them. You know, I mean, girls don't do that. You know? Girls do something else nasty. But guys just go, take that, and then I'm throwing you, and then we get up and we go and do what we gotta do. And it was like Wild Bunch or something. I mean, it was really great. So these are the men. These are the boy.
You're a queen.
No, I'm not. I'm a ragamuffin.
So Keith, it was said that John wrote this role for you.
When John called me, and he said, and it was the first time anyone ever did this to me in the movies. I wrote this part for you. If you want it, the part is yours. Read it. Let me know what you think. I'm like, huh? Read it. And he wanted to make sure that he asked me if I thought it was cliche or something. And I was like, well, no. I mean, it just happened. I think around that time I was doing some work a little bit with the Homeless Foundation. And I'd met a couple of extraordinary men who were like the working homeless. As I said, it was a very particular time in our history in America, and there were a lot of people losing jobs, being let out of institutions who shouldn't have been let out because they couldn't afford to be there. And there was a lot of working homeless people, and that is people who just couldn't. They work, but they couldn't afford the car and an apartment and someplace to. I mean, they couldn't afford it. So they would. You know, one woman I met was a professor at a university, and she'd been married for many years, and her husband divorced him for a younger woman. So she lived for 6 months in her station wagon, and had to go to the gas station to wash up, or get to school early and wash up before classes and things like that. And so I was painfully aware of the working homeless. So Frank rang very true to me. There are people who would find jobs out of state and send money home to support the family. Now that is also something that's, that's going on since The Grapes of Wrath, if you know that movie. I mean, so it just rang very true to me. And then there was a book that came out around that time. I can't remember the name of it. It was Subliminal something. Or what it was about was the use of subliminal messages in advertising. It's now illegal, but they used to like, if you're in the movie theater, every third frame there'd be a hot dog or popcorn, and your eye can't catch it, but your brain does. And it's subliminal advertising, and it's really a big theme in the film. But now we know because of the power of subliminal imagery, it's illegal. You can't do that. I mean, you can't go and advertise your car and whatever while people are eating, going to the theater to be entertained. That's just wrong. But in the movie, it was very, very real. And again, when you deprive people of a means to live like a man, to live like a full human being, then the focus shifts, and suddenly you can become very materialistic, very, money being God, and people, and you can be enticed to do things that are less than honorable because you just want a buck. You want to stop living like that. We can get more political about that, but I won't.
So this is your second film with John Carpenter. Any major differences from The Thing to They Live in working with him?
I think that between The Thing and They Live, he was always very visual. I mean, a very visual guy, and knew exactly what he wanted. I think that he became a better communicator with actors. And Roddy can talk about that, But I thought he was much clearer as far as, like I said, being able to talk to actors to get the result that he wanted, as opposed to just expecting the actor to have the result. He became better at being able to help them to get there. That would be my essence.
So Roddy, you were saying that these guys were the real actors and you were just there to fight. Now, working at the WWF, WWE now, cutting all the promos that you did, is it a natural progression to get into acting from being a wrestler?
No, it's like the worst thing you could do. No kidding. They're totally opposite. Wrestling is explosion, acting is implosion, and took a while to figure that one out with a lot of help. No. There's one thing, I don't know if you remember, there's one real strong statement that John, the homeless people, real homeless people, but there was one with Keith and myself, and you had the skyline of America, and I think the lines were something like, I believe in America. It was a very strong statement, but the Carpenter wanted us to smoke a joint. Right. And I said, no. So we didn't. But he did, as a this is America. And that, I believe in America. That's probably the most prolific part of the movie. It took me a while. But that's what he meant. Yeah.
So let's circle back to the fight real quick. It's become infamous. It's supposed to be, 20, 30 seconds long, and it ended up being over 5 minutes.
They took some time off of that.
Yeah. And I don't think it ever was meant to be 2 or 3 minutes long. He meant for it to be an epic fight, as I remember. He fashioned it after there's a John Wayne movie called The Quiet Man, with John Wayne and Victor McLaughlin fighting through the whole town. Well, the fight was fashioned after that, and I think from both his point of view and Jeff Amada's point of view, I think what makes the fight work so well is that and he kept stressing this, there's a story in it. It's not just two guys fighting; they're fighting about something, and it gets progressive as they're. It's the clashing of two rights. Nobody's wrong here. He's right about his stance. He's right about his stance, and finally, fate, providence steps in to make at least Franco. You see what I'm saying? Now you see what I'm talking about. And he says, what I wanted to do, he didn't let me do it, and he did. He shot it, but he cut it out. Is right after putting the glasses, I turned to him and said, "Why didn't you tell me?"
I think I didn't try to borrow money, I'd still be there. It would have been great. Yeah, why don't you tell me?
So Meg, you got to have a little fight of your own when you smashed Roddy in the head with the bottle and threw him out the window. Tell me what that was like, being able to, kick Roddy Piper's ass.
It took a while. It did. There was this bottle. I had forgotten this. Roddy mentioned it once. The bottle was made of sugar, and it felt like a real bottle. It had weight, and I went to clock him, and it wouldn't break. And I kept saying, "Are you sure this isn't real?" And of course it wasn't. They wouldn't let me do that. But, you know, and I'm strong. So, you know, but I couldn't get myself to do it. And he just went, hey! You know? I finally hit him and it broke. I was like, oh, it broke. You know, but I couldn't do that. I was so excited that it broke and it wasn't glass. But we had a great time. And then, yes, there was the shove. And the shove was rather mighty, very mighty of me. But I think in the situation, there was a great big airbag out there. And
did anybody guess by that time that she was going to turn on me when you're
No.
watching a movie? Me neither.
Or me.
that was a horror.
That was so
That was
shocking.
a horror.
Like, they really gonna do this.
Horrible.
Scarred.
I was walking up the stairs when we got to that. I was walking up the stairs and Roddy went up and he said, okay, Keith, you stop there, Meg. Pull out the gun and shoot him. I said, what? He said, this is where you shoot him. I said, with the gun? He said, with the gun. I said, but how do I pull it? He's standing right there. I have to be, but no, I want you to stand right there, pull out the gun, shoot him. It was horrifying. I mean, guns are wonderful, but it's you know, for the right
After
thing.
that scene, when you were shooting him, there was this guy. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I don't mind it. If you do, please. Cut me off.
Such beautiful eyes. Whoosh, baby Jesus. So that like the end where pyrotechnics or whatever going on, and there's this guy, and all day he's like squibs you up with these explosions on you. All day how great he is and whatever, you know. Just hook me up with you. And there's like 8 explosions and like they're bullets, right? And then thanks, squibs, thank you. And then, you know, I'm standing in the middle of fire and brimstone. Yeah, I'll stand there, no problem. He says, no, they're going to ting just a little bit, just do it. And so, boom, and you know, pop, 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 pop. And I thought to myself, yeah, he was right. He put them on backwards. He put them and they exploded into me. Dumb guy. Yeah, I thought that hurt. Oh, geez. Throw the guy over the roof. Edit. He was a pain in the butt.
So it's a pretty powerful ending to the film. You know, all the main characters are now deceased. Talk a little bit about that. It's not normal for, you know, at least the good guy to live in films.
They actually reshot it. What was the name? The president of Universal, Pollock. They shot it. They had to reshoot it, so I didn't die. They wanted to kill me, for real. The John Carpenter camp wasn't real happy with me, and they had him reshoot it and give him the bird, so in case they wanted to do another one. They're probably still talking about it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
So a little bit off topic for each of you from the film. What was your favorite Piper's Pit?
Piper's Pit. What was your favorite? My favorite Piper's Pit? Holy cow. It's just a little talk show I used to do. I think the very first one, I made it up at a bar. I told Vince McMahon, you give me a bow tie, 5 weeks, and a mic stand, and if I don't get the job done, I'm out of there. Because they had so much great talent that was wrestling on TV, and I didn't want to wrestle on TV because I wanted you to have to pay to see me wrestle. And I gave him this big speech in a bar in St. Louis. Well, you know, I was drinking and I forgot about it. And a week later, I come in the TV and there's those 2 chairs, like, you know, and I went, oh, geez, now what am I going to do? And I didn't know who the guests were going to be, and I didn't know what to do. And this guy, Frankie Williams, man, wow, he's like the only Puerto Rican gentleman I know with freckles, and he's great. And so to the second, I give you my word, the cameras came on, and I didn't know what I was kind of doing. What do I do? Hi, where are you from? And Frankie Williams in the thickest Puerto Rican accent went, I'm from Columbus, Ohio. We're rolling. And then he came like the alien and he got really mad at me. and they told him he was a lousy wrestler. But if it wasn't for Frankie Williams, God bless your soul, fighting me back that hard, it probably wouldn't have worked. So he's responsible for it. He was a wonderful man.
Meg, growing up in the 80s, He-Man and Masters of the Universe was a huge part of my life. Tell us about working on that film as Evil Lynn.
Oh. The costume was very intense to put on and take off. It was very binding, and I couldn't bend. No, we had a wonderful time. We really did. It was, there can be a lot of people in a film, but then, it's broken down, and I didn't have a whole lot of great big scenes, but you're sort of tippy-toeing about. So, I don't know, I just had a great time. I was very excited to do something that had to do with children. It was very wonderful to work with Mr. Langella. And Gary Goddard was a really swell director, a swell guy. And the lovely thing is that it was for children. I mean, the 80s, nothing, there wasn't anything that you could do. Everything was heavy. There wasn't any light material yet, there wasn't any, it was just like it was there. It was heavy. So, the cape weighed 35 pounds. But it was beautiful, it was operatic. But they make such light materials now. So, it's a little antique, but it was really great. We had a great time.
And then one final question from me before we take it over to the audience. You worked with the late, great Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. Tell us a little bit about working with him.
I had a job, so it was great. The best thing about Roadhouse for me is I had just moved to LA. I don't remember, I think Roadhouse was right after. I was recent to LA, so I think I did Bird first. Bird was my first movie here with Clint Eastwood. And then I think Roadhouse was soon after that, because Roadhouse, Bird let me get my first apartment. Roadhouse bought me my first car. Because I went from a 4-week gig to an 11-week gig. It just was the job that wouldn't quit. It just kept going. And ultimately, this is I guess I joined the long list of luminaries because, like I said, I was in it for 11 weeks. I had a very legitimate storyline where I was an ex-Marine who was looking for a job and stumbled into the Roadhouse, which is kind of a rednecky place for me to work to begin with, but I could fight. And Patrick said, "Well, if you want a job, what happened was, I come into the bar and these two rednecks started hassling this one guy. I won't tell you what he said, but he said some really sexist things to this girl sitting next to this guy. So they were about to have a fight. Patrick comes to break them up, and one of the guys behind him pulls out a knife, and I take him out. And then me and Terry Funk had a great fight. But he called after when you do the film, you have the rap party. Had a great rap party, and 2 days after the rap party, Roddy Harrington called me and said, "Listen, Keith, I got 3 hours and 15 minutes worth of film. I got to cut down to 2:10. So you got to go. Sorry." So my whole storyline went. The only reason you saw me at all was because at one point Ben Gazzara, who's one of the main stars, I have to hand the phone to Patrick through, and Ben is standing at the bar. So you see me there, and you see me pass through like another scene. But other than that, I'm not in a movie. But I still get paid and I still have fifth billing on a single card. and I still get my residuals. So that's my Roadhouse experience.
All right, so who has some questions for these guys?
Roddy Piper.
Spirit.
I think he's getting a little shy, but
okay.
he would like to ask you a favor.
Sure.
Would you repeat a line? Well, this.
It has something to do with bubble gum.
Could you just repeat, like, I'm here to chew, kick ass, and.
Destroyed them. Come on up here. Come here, champ. Come on, bud. Yeah, boy. Here you go. What do you say? Bring the coat. It may fit me. I've got a wife, okay? You ready? Do you know it? Yeah. All right, together. On deck. Ready? I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all
Out of bubble gum.
That's going to be a hard one to follow. Who else has a question? This is like kind of a two-parter, but I'm just sort of sad that nobody has told Mr. Piper, I'm sorry, I'm a nerd, nobody's told you happy anniversary. Your first Piper spit was 30 years ago earlier this week, so happy anniversary. When you guys would shoot the stuff where you would see the aliens, obviously you're not seeing the aliens. Would they tell you, okay, this is kind of what's happening, or give you a visual or a picture to reference or anything like that? Like, what was your reference material so you would know what your visual should be?
I give you I can make some shit up, or I can tell you what really happened. And really, I don't remember. That's the truth. The other part is, depending on the day. If we're looking this way, the camera's behind me, looking at you, and they are the aliens. Then they would have the actors in place, so we would see the actors. We cut. The alien would go in their place, or they would. Some of them were the actors in masks, and then they would put them in there. So.
For the obey stuff, yeah. The only thing that we saw, there was a magazine on the magazine rack. Yeah, that was just you blank page and obey on it or something. That's all I know.
Yeah, this is before CGI stuff. So we had to do it. We had to do it.
Our big special effect was.
Yeah. Right. And then the special effects would be, I'm looking at you. Okay, the camera's on, okay, we look at you for a few seconds, cut, okay, go get into makeup, or your double will get into makeup, then turn the camera back on, so now we're looking at, the aliens.
Hey, Keith, I'm sorry I missed the Thing panel yesterday, so this is a Thing question. I thought the ending of the movie was great, but know that some people wanted a more definitive answer. Did you guys film anything that gave the movie more closure, or was that all that was filmed?
Again, you're taxing my 30-year-old memory. Well, the movie's 30 years old, I ain't. So, I believe we shot, we did shoot it a couple of ways. I don't know how much difference it would have made, you know, but the last thing that I remember, I wasn't in. So that much I can tell you. It wasn't me. We both had time to turn into it. So that left the big question mark. And, you know, at the time I thought, wow, this is room for sequel. But you see how long that took. And then it wasn't even a sequel. But as far as I was, you know, my last memory of it is we shot it as if it was neither one of us. And then I think we did shoot a version where we were both suspicious, because who would know? But the nature of the beast was, if it was me, I wouldn't know it until my life was threatened. And if it was him, the same thing. So, you know, is there a real difference? You know what I mean? Because the thing only revealed itself if its existence was threatened. So neither one of us would know before hell froze over, because the chopper wasn't going to come to save us before we, disintegrated.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
Hey, Roddy, WrestleMania 30 is in just a couple of months. Are you going to be doing a Piper's Pit on that?
I'm going to be there. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, other than somehow I'm going to beat Hogan up. Take the rest of his hair. Ultimate Warrior says they're extensions. He would know. Backing off. Yes, I'll be there. Yes, sir.
Anybody else? One last one? No? All right, good. One last one.
You know, I'm doing that show, announcing, talking about all
That's really
the
cool.
history of WrestleMania.
Yeah, he's the voiceovering the history of WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'm doing the voiceover on the wrestling channel.
Really cool.
WWE channel.
Yeah.
This is a real favorite scene from the movie They Live.
I did like the scene. Didn't we have to put on contact lenses? You would put on the contact lenses, and then we go and we, shoot up the hallway and stuff. I loved all that because I think at that time I hadn't gotten to shoot a lot of guns, so we got to shoot those. But the contacts we had to put on in order to see who the aliens were.
Shooting guns were fun. But they still had half loads.
But the funny thing is, there's a lot of things you do remember, some specifically, they're mostly minor things, but you do have to remember this was 30 years ago. Okay. So I would have to ask some of these guys, what did we do that day? I don't know. I don't remember quite that specific. Some things come to you, and I'd have to see that. I don't even know when the last time I saw the movie, but I'd have to see it again. One thing, a frequently asked question is, how do you like watching yourself? I don't mind these days. I guess I've done it enough now, so I'm okay watching myself. Unless I think I'm making too many faces, or I don't know what the hell I was doing. But if I can remember some semblance of what I think I was thinking at that time, then I'm okay. Sometimes I'll look and say, I don't know what I was thinking, because that didn't make any sense to me. But we tend to be very critical of ourselves.
There was one scene. There's one scene, like actors look at a script and they give their interpretation. And this gentleman, I was in the alley and it was like there was an alien up there, boom. And then this policeman come and I level the shotgun at him. Then I see the glasses, he's a human being. So I said, beat your feet. So he went, no, run away. He just ran on the spot for a long time, too.
I think right there's good. You still seeing my hand there?
Yes, I do.
So that's probably good, huh?
Have a nice day.
One of my favorite off-stage moments. Roddy was showing me how to do a suplex, side suplex, and then we had to do some move, during the fight, off the wall or something. And in the meantime, now I was 25 to 30 pounds heavier than I am now. Roddy was the strongest cat I've ever seen in my life. I mean, pound for pound, he was I think he went from 280 to 240. He'd lost 40 pounds to do the movie. He was 240 pounds of solid steel. And so it was a moment in between, and he's holding me up like this, like a baby. And he goes to John, what do you want me to do with him?
All right, well, thank you very much, guys. Let's give it up for
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Michael Exler from the East Coast Horror Group.
Hey, you guys want to eavesdrop on somebody's phone conversation? You get all the good juice. Bobby in room 607.